and I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and pay my respect to their elders past and present. We can learn a lot from the oldest continuous civilisation on the planet, in which we are privileged to inhabit this continent of Australia. Indigenous Australians honour their elders, and so many of the different ethnic communities in my electorate honour their elders. So many cultures around the world have their elderly who stay with the younger family. It's seen to be a responsibility that they have. And I think when we look at the Australian aged care system, which has developed very differently, whereby we have a culture in this country whereby people go through, perhaps in steps, but end up in aged care facilities, we should bear that in mind, and we should ensure that respect is at the centre of the way that we treat those people who've helped build this nation, who've helped raise families and who've helped make a difference. That's why I support the government's decision to finally agree with Labor's call for a Royal Commission into the aged care sector. We didn't need to watch Four Corners to know that this aged care system is facing a crisis. The truth has been around for some time. Over recent years, there has been increasing media attention to the problem. We've heard disturbing reports about frail aged Australians being mistreated in facilities meant to be dedicated to their well-being. This is a many-layered problem, a problem we must not ignore. It's about inadequate resourcing. It's about pay levels for aged care workers. It's about ensuring that aged care facilities meet required standards and taking action when they do not. It is about that culture of respect. Safeguarding the dignity of older Australians is a fundamental responsibility of this parliament. About 1.3 million Australians are supported in residential, home and community aged care, including home support packages and services such as social support and meal delivery. That figure includes 240,000 who call an aged care facility home. These people are our parents or grandparents, our uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, or indeed our friends. That's why Australians need to be secure in the knowledge that as we all grow old, that when we reach a point whereby we need assistance to look after ourselves, there will be a society that pledges to look after them. Funding is critical. It does matter. That's why the government's changes to funding, which they called a cap being introduced to the aged care funding instrument, needs to be called out for what it is. It was due to grow by $3 billion. Instead, as a result of the now Prime Minister's first budget, it was due to grow by $1.8 billion. That's a $1.2 billion cut. Not that was put into other areas of aged care, that was simply put back into consolidated revenue. And then that was followed up with another $500 million cut, meaning $1.7 billion ripped out of the system by this ATM government. An ATM government that isn't putting dollars back in, an ATM government that just takes deposits but not withdrawals, which are then used for the benefit of elderly Australians. Now, I hope that the Royal Commission will act as a reminder to all governments that while spending matters, people matter too, and that we need to make a real difference with this Royal Commission, which it is good that the government's having a Royal Commission, not for political purposes, but to make a difference, and I think that it can certainly do this. In the remaining few seconds, I do want to say that people from non-English speaking backgrounds are something that particularly has to be addressed. Elderly people from these backgrounds lose their English in many cases and go back to their first language, and they need specific support arising out of this. We need to, as the Prime Minister has said, a culture of respect for older Australians. I think that's something that the Parliament should unite about.
Time has expired.